Hi, it's Joey Reynolds Rap, and I'm drinking my coffee black in honor of, is it backwards? In honor of Gail King, who she wants to be the queen of inclusion. You must have been left out a lot when you were a child. Got to get to a therapist, girl. She's trying to get this hairdo for black, Asian, white, all the same. She said when she was a child, for instance, she wanted to have blonde hair. Well, get some bleach. You'll have all the blonde hair you want. I've ruined more laundry that way. No, we're not going to all be the same. Come on. I mean, even Sean Penn has got his daughter acting with him. The only one that could get away with this is Bruce Jenner, where he could play his own son. And we got different kinds of people who are going to be different. You know, you're not going to wear towels around your head and be like the Taliban, are you? I mean, although that's the new look. Isn't that funny? I mean, it's not funny, haha. It's funny, weird, odd funny. How people find fault and then they make money. That's what I said this yesterday. I think this is the Friday, the Friday edition of the Joey Reynolds Bitch Box, and I'm sitting here with this is the week that was. And we are finding fault already. Now, we find fault with everybody, everything, all day long. That's the newscast. That's what they are. I told you I want to be appointed in the government as the chairman of the fault finding committee. It started with, am I showing too much cleavage? Somebody's pointing that out. I'm not trying to keep abreast. Yes, I am. Okay, now. Adam and Eve. Now, if you're a Bible person, Adam and Eve were the first ones to have fault, because God came and He asked Adam. He says, "What's going on here? I mean, why did you eat the apple? And the snake here. I mean, you got involved with this. Why did you do this?" And the first thing out of Adam's mouth was, "It was her." Blamed Eve. That's the way we began life on this planet. In religion, we blame someone else. Let me tell you something. We're blaming people for sexual acting out. There's a lot of that going on, including people who are serving time, losing their jobs. Many people have lost their positions because of that. But the real corporate crime is stealing. Now, Clive Davis is putting on this concert this week. He got fired at Columbia Records when he was the star of all of these music acts that he brags about. Because he wrote off his son's bar mitzvah on company money. He had the company pay for his son's bar mitzvah. I think it was only about $65,000 back in those days. That was more money than it's worth now. Matter of fact, I like what President Biden said, and I wish that since I'm out of work for all this time, I wish the buck would stop here. When the buck stops here, I'd be very happy. I'd invest it. This blaming people stuff's got to stop. And they said, now today I heard this Major Schaefer, complaining that when the people come here from Afghanistan and they're unloaded in the places where we have brought them to escape the end of that war, of our part of it, they bring people over here and the place is not air conditioned. Well, excuse me, what do you want, an Airbnb? I mean, this is an emergency. Nobody planned on this. No one planned on the virus. No one planned on the return of the concert to Central Park either. 60,000 people going to be there this weekend to see Paul Simon, who hasn't sung in a long time. I hope he's not that rusty. But, he was really good with Garfunkel. They don't talk to each other. But I think that would be another thing that I should mention, is that Clive Davis, who would not take the phone calls from Sid Bernstein, incidentally, in his documentary, Sid Bernstein was the guy who created those concerts in Central Park. Kept them going, as a matter of fact, with David Ippolito, the guitar player at the lake. He kept doing that every single weekend. Did that for years. And the Strawberry Fields, because Sid brought the Beatles here. It's right across the street. Strawberry Fields is in Central Park, across the street from the Dakota where John was shot, and on the second floor or third floor is where Yoko can look out the window and see the tree growing in Central Park, and the shrubbery that's kept with that wonderful space to honor John Lennon. So Clive Davis is not the only guy here. I mean, we had a guy that died this week, who was a friend of mine. Matter of fact, he was did a lot of cocaine in the earlier days. We all have made sins with drugs. We made sins with women, and men made sins with men. And I think also you got a lot of people who are corporate sinners, but they don't get punished as easily because there's profit in it. There's no profit in the other things until you bring the lawyers in, and then that's where the profit is. So, I mean, if you had to have a son-in-law and you want him to marry someone ideal, make sure that he marries in the Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan family. That's what ought to happen with your life. But let me go back to this again. I took Sid Bernstein. You could see this on YouTube. And I wheeled him across the street. He was in a wheelchair at the time, from Central Park, where he had been at the concert with David Ippolito. And I wheeled him across the street to the Dakota, and where onlookers were coming from various places in the world to see John's death spot. And the guy at the door didn't even know him, never heard of Sid Bernstein, didn't know, he only knew that John was shot there, and never knew much else. And let me just put a PS in here. I've been in that building a lot of times, mainly because I was friends with Bob Carew, who produced the Four Seasons, and my theme song, as you probably know. Bob made that possible. And he was the guy who lived in the Dakota at one time. Very famous people lived there. Judy Garland lived there. Frank Stanton, president of CBS Television. Who else? Oh, there's so many people live there. But see, true New Yorkers don't have that kind of money. True New Yorkers live in the Bronx or in Queens or in Harlem like I did. When I say true New Yorkers, you mean a guy that has a cold water flat, that has an apartment that looks more like Jackie Gleason's house than a swell penthouse view of Central Park. Although I did stay with someone who had that. So, it's amazing how we have different pay scales in New York. New York is a dichotomy. The city of a lot of wealth and a lot of poverty, and they don't really go together. The middle is the workers. See, we've shifted from being a society that is not a working society as much as it is an investment society. And so I said on the air yesterday, what did I say? I said, go 401k yourself. This is what we want. They want us to do this. They want us to become investors. And that's the capitalist theme, is to take money and put it back into the system, and then other people will take money. But you can't take money for work you didn't do. That's the missing part. Now, after the last depression that we had, there was a time when the banks closed and people were committing suicide. Rich people, famous people, they were jumping out of windows because they couldn't get to the bank. This time, this particular administration, Trump and Biden, these guys, Republicans, Democrats, they kept the banks going. And so it's an illusion. We look like we got a lot of money, and we got these little stimulus checks, and now they're blaming the people who don't work on the idea that they'd rather stay at home because they're getting a check. That's not necessarily true. You're getting a little bit more on your unemployment. You're getting a little more on the check that came in as a stimulus, but that's not going to last too long. I mean, come on, they raised the prices on everything anyway. I think I made this mention. I went to the supermarket yesterday and I filled out a mortgage in the top 10 line, where you have less than 10 items. And I also mentioned you're going to put a chip in your forehead and they're going to wheel us out of the supermarket that way. Of course, I'll be in the aisle that has less than 10 items. They're gonna run me across that scanner real fast. So Central Park, 60,000 people. Good idea this Saturday? I don't think so. Why are we having separation? I got to have separation, wear a mask, and then we're going to go to Central Park, although we show we have our vaccination and show that 60,000 people. Let me tell you, this is going to be a bigger airlift out of there than there is in Afghanistan. There are going to be more people wanting to get the hell out of there. I would not want to. I'm not going to go that. I don't know about you. I'm not going to that thing. See, I don't trust this this whole time in history because this is not a virus. This is an epidemic. That's why you need to have the vaccine so you don't die.